Hi, I'm Jason Hewlett. I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, Las Vegas entertainer, and this video is about how to get gigs as a comedian immediately. Now, what I'm going to share with you is actually 10 things you can do right away to start getting gigs if you're a comedian. So let's jump in. First thing I want you to think about is that you need to prepare your set. Don't wing it. I mean, hey, if you're an improv artist, good for you. But this is a comedy gig. This is you standing on stage just with the microphone. You need to have something prepared, so outline it. And guess what? I've done other videos about how to outline a presentation on this channel. So I hope you'll subscribe and go check some more of those out. And I want you to know that having at least 5 minutes of material is so essential. You want to get the first 5 minutes because that's usually how long it's going to be allowed on stage for your first time in terms of some of these open mics and other things I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. But yeah, you need to have about 5 good minutes of material to get on that stage. So please promise me, don't wing it. And so the first thing you need to do outside of having something prepared, the first thing is to just go to those open mic nights at a comedy club. So whether you live in a huge city like New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago, or you live in a smaller city, there are opportunities all the time. Usually an open mic would be anywhere between a Monday and a Thursday. Usually they fall on a Wednesday or Thursday night. And so all you have to do is go to your local comedy club and start to intermingle. Walk up, put your name on the list. Here's the thing though, if you live in a major city, that's hard. There actually is going to be very little room for you on those. And so what I recommend is if you do live in a smaller town, a smaller city, I mean, I'm talking small city like Salt Lake City, Utah, Boise, Idaho, Kansas City, Missouri, those types of places, Seattle, Portland, you can find more spots in cities like that because there's way less comedians around. But if you're in a large city like New York or Chicago or LA, here's what they're gonna make you do. They're going to trade for stage time, they might make you pass out flyers for the show. They might make you, do some work in the building just to get stage time. What are you willing to do to get an open mic? The next thing you can do is to get to know the comedy community. Now, these guys are generally pretty weird dudes and gals. That's what comedians are. We're a different bunch, right? And so we like to make people laugh, but usually it's from some trauma from the past, and that's just what it is. But let me tell you, they're the best people in the world, candidly. You just have to get to know them, and then you realize, oh, these people, yeah, they've got a lot going on, but also they're incredible. And so the comedy community is wonderful. And let me tell you, once you start to show that you care about them, they will bring you into their circle really quick. But you have to prove your chops, not only as a good comedian, telling great jokes or doing great stories, being good on stage, but showing up time and time again. You have to be there for your comedy community. And one of the best ways to get to know your comedy community is to find out what they're doing outside of the comedy clubs, meaning it's not just doing gigs at the club. It's actually doing a backyard comedy night or a living room party or a county fair or a corporate event. There's all kinds of different places where a comedian hangs out and does their work. And so as you start to support one another, and that could very well just mean, hey, I'm here to film you or help you or work on your material with you. Just by working that angle with a fellow comedian, even somebody who's better than you already, and making things work for themselves, that's a quick way to get some more gigs for yourself. The third thing I'd recommend you do is sign up for an improv class. Have you ever tried improv? Oh man, that's intimidating, right? Well, go try it. If you want to get more gigs as a comedian, become an improv artist, and here's why. They force you to go on stage and try things, workshop, and it is terrifying, but it's also a great way and a place where many great comedians have started. Somebody who's one of my favorite comedians and who's also a great keynote speaker, her name is Jessica Pettit. She moved from Dallas to New York City years ago, and she started going to the clubs. She actually first signed up for a comedy class, an improv class, and it changed her life. That's where she put her foot in the door and started to get to know people. Next thing she knew, the true story, she started rubbing shoulders with people like Robin Williams, Chris Rock, George Carlin, and they mentored and helped her get her career started. They gave her stage time. They helped her with her career. It's a pretty cool story, but it's because she signed up for an improv class. If you have a university nearby, a college, a community college, they usually have an improv class of some kind you can sign up for. I recommend you go check it out. Even the comedy clubs sometimes do it, and theaters do as well. The fourth thing you could do right away is you could offer to be the MC for a bunch of events near you. For example, have you ever thought about who's going to be the MC for a beauty pageant in the summertime? Well, that could be you. Or you could be the MC of a comedy show itself. That's actually a spot that's really great for the comedy clubs. They don't usually have somebody that comes in and says, hey, I want to MC everything. Usually somebody who's working on a lot of sets has their chance to be the MC, so sometimes you can't just offer, you have to work your way up to it. But being an MC of a corporate event, a charity event, a school event, even a church event, go and find out places where you could be a master of ceremonies and help an event run along because you're so funny. Hey, so before I go to the rest of the ways that you're gonna get gigs as a comedian right away, I want you to go into the comments, if you will, and just type in your favorite comedian and why. I'd love to know because I'm always researching them as well. I'd love it to be somebody who's current, not somebody from long ago, because we all love the legends. Type in somebody who you really like, and hey, if it's your friend, get a chance to promote him on the channel. All right, go type it in. The next way to get gigs as a comedian is to offer to be the announcer at games. I know that may sound weird, right? But imagine when you go to a football game at a stadium for a high school. How did that guy get that gig? You could go up there and ask. You could ask the athletic director. You could find out. You could even go up and be like the right-hand man to the actual announcer if you don't want to be the announcer of those games. But I've found the quickest way for me to get in front of an audience is to do gigs that nobody wants to do. Most of the time, people don't want to be the announcer of, well, maybe people do like being the announcer of a football game, but let's say the volleyball game. Let's say the lacrosse game. Let's say something where the parents are like, I don't want to do it. Athletic director doesn't have anybody. Go offer to be the announcer of a lacrosse game, even if you don't know the game. I've done this. My son plays lacrosse, so I said, hey, I'll be the announcer. They were like, who are you? They didn't know who I am. And then I became the announcer. Now they're like, we can't have any other announcers. And I'm like, this is fun. I like doing it, but it's almost like practice for me as somebody who wants to be on a microphone. And so some of these points that I've given you are tips for getting gigs. You're not going to get paid for all of them. And I didn't promise you that you were going to get paid. I just said I'm going to show you how to get some gigs. Getting paid is way different. But this next point is really interesting and nobody ever thinks about it. Number 6 is to befriend people in different industries that are performers. And so here's what I'm thinking, like bands, musicians, speakers, entertainers, jugglers, magicians, you name it. Anybody who has a stage and a microphone and an opportunity, if you befriend them and you want to help them with their career, you could eventually ask them if you could open for them. Now, I remember when I started my career, this was in early 2000. Wow, 2000, that's how old I am. So in 2000, I went to a fellow who was a former basketball player who was transitioning into becoming a musician. His name, Thurl Big T Bailey, number 41 for the Utah Jazz when I was growing up. So he was already one of my heroes. I went up to Thurl Big T Bailey and I said to him, hey, I know that you're doing concerts. I'd love to come do something comical before you. Maybe I could be the MC or open for you. He's like, yeah, man, nobody's offered to do that for me. Oh, wow. I just opened an opportunity for myself just by befriending a musician who then eventually became a keynote speaker. And now he does the color commentary on the Jazz for all of the Utah Jazz basketball games. So he's not doing as much on stage anymore, but he helped me launch my career because I befriended someone in a different industry than me. And eventually I even followed in his footsteps in doing more music and doing keynote speaking. That really made a difference for my career. So befriend people that are performers in different industries. Here's another quick way to get a gig real fast. Go to a local theater or the college in your area and offer to do a comedy show. Now you could go with other buddies and pals and friends that are good comedians or performers and say, hey, we want to do a show for the college or the theater, the community. We're going to charge tickets, we're going to raise money, we're going to do a fundraiser, and we're not going to keep any of it. You can do that. If you want to make some money, then just do a percentage where you make money for them and then you keep a little bit. I'd recommend you just give as much value as you possibly can so people start to say, hey, every time I see that gal or that guy, he's doing something good for the community, I want to support him. Next, go online. Start posting videos, as many as you're willing to. Whether it's videos of performances that you've recorded or videos of you just talking to the camera saying something funny. It does not have to be formal like this. This is high level, right? I'm talking about holding up your phone and just doing a selfie video and just make it authentically who you are. Start a TikTok channel, start a YouTube channel, start a Instagram handle, I don't care. Do something but put it online. And the more that you share what you're doing, the more people will follow. Now, within that, I want you to also realize you need to record everything you do. I mean, within reason, record every gig you ever have. Here's the reason. Because the more you record it, you can then repurpose that footage and use it online as one of your posts. It will also help you improve. So that's another cool thing to do. The other thing is if you don't have any gigs on stage that you can record, then at least press record on the camera and make sure to go live. And so whether you do a live stream, a webinar, whatever you choose, you could do a comedy day or a comedy night. You could do something with your friends. Imagine a Zoom call with a bunch of comedy buddies just back and forth, and then you record that and put it online. People might love it. And number 9, this one's lost on a lot of people. Social media is 2 words, right? But a lot of people just think about media. Well, then social's the first part of that social media phrase, right? Be social. I've actually found some of my favorite comedians and people I've actually referred to my clients because of the comments they made on other people's work. In other words, when you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, comment. Let them know what you're thinking. Say something funny. Add to the conversation. Have you ever watched a video and then gone straight to the comments? I think we all do that. That's the first place I go. In fact, I see something funny and then I go right to the comments to see if anyone's funnier. And so add to that conversation. Be social. It'll change the way that you get opportunities, and it could very well lead to some gigs. And then 10, reach out to those you admire. They could eventually become your mentor. Now, for example, when a great comedian comes to town and they're doing the arena, it's almost impossible to get a hold of them. That's okay. But if there are other different tiers of comedians or entertainers or speakers, performers that you want to be like or be around and you want to get more gigs, this is a fascinating trick. When you find out where they are, where they're going, because you follow their social media, you read everything they post and you watch everything and you comment, and then you start to drop in their direct messages, hey, you're awesome, when are you going to be in my town? Sometimes they'll reach out. This has happened to me where I reached out to somebody I so admired, I started dropping little comments, and then I messaged them and said, hey, next time you're in town, I would love to be here to help you out. If I can pick you up from the airport, be your valet, carry your bags, sell your books, I want a video, I can help you with anything you need. I'll be just right-hand man, don't pay me, I just want to be around you. They were like, oh, cool, let's do it. I was stunned. I picked them up from the airport. We went to their event. It was huge. I got to help sell books by just holding the book open so he could sign his signature real fast. We took selfies. He became a mentor. And the next thing I know, he was referring me to. I hope these tips have helped. I hope this leads to immediate gig opportunities for you. And I've also created more videos that will help you in your career. If you want to get to another place in your career, I would even recommend you watching a video that I created called How Can Public Speaking Help Your Career? Because guess what? As a comedian, you're actually a public speaker too. And so I hope that that'll help you. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Go get some gigs.